This is it. It's happening. It always felt like it was so far away. Early voting starts basically the day after tomorrow. Wow, post-Labor Day, here we are, and everything is on the line. Quick recap, Donald Trump has been at this for 2 years. 2 years, almost. This is how you campaign for president when you're serious. When you're not, when you're trying to pull a fast one on the American people, you show your face for about 3 months. 3 months and pray and hope and lie, cheat, and steal probably to pull this thing off. 3 months. This is totally un-American, totally anti-democratic. We all know that. Even Joe Biden had the decency to announce for president, what, a year and 7 months, okay? Yes, he lied every step of the way, but he did officially declare. Same goes for Hillary, right? She waged a campaign, all right? Is that too much to ask? Obama was at it for almost 2 years, too. I mean, this is a long time. But Kamala, only 3 months. And we know why now, right? I mean, there's no possible way with the reasonable scrutiny that a presidential candidate can expect to undergo would she pass muster with the American people, with the people of Luxembourg, the tiniest country you can find. I don't know what that is. Andorra, it's a little colony between France and Spain. Nobody, no, can't happen. It just can't unless they pull this kind of stuff. Hey, one other thing that I didn't notice during the big interview last week. So she sits down and, you know, the initial question, I'm just kind of taking it all in. Wow, she's really, you know, what does she look like? What's going on? You're adjusting. I missed this part. Now, the first question was an easy one, actually.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
In the White House, if you run for president for a year and a half, you get pretty good at answering that question. You get asked it all the time. She's only been at this for a little while, and this is the only time she's actually been getting a question. This might be the very first time she heard the question, so she had no idea what to do or say. So the first thing you do is, well, kill time. Just say stuff and fill the time.
I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people.
You see this part? Well, I'm going to try to, what? Aspirations, goals, and ambitions. Aspirations, goals, and ambitions. 3 words that say the same thing. This is probably the first time again she got this question. She doesn't know what to do. So, what's her name? Dana Bash circles back and tries again.
So what would you do day one?
What would you day one? All right, so she goes back to the aspirations, goals, hooking up the middle class, blah, 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 nothing, nothing, nothing. And then she says one little specific, and it's more significant than I first thought.
What we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib.
Who says she doesn't talk specifics right there? A baby clothes, a blanket, a car seat. What was that? Baby clothes, a crib, and a car seat. This is the specific. This is the first day one. This is what she's going to do. This is it. You could talk to 1 million people. 1 million. You could ask 1 million people in America what is their prior. Nobody is going to say they expect this stuff from a president. Nobody. The border. Yeah, you may have 60 to 70% talking about that. She doesn't want to talk about it. She wants to talk about the car seat, the baby blanket, and the what else again? The crib? I mean, what about crime? I think a lot of people are worried about crime. Yes, indeed. No, let's talk about the car seat, the baby blanket, and the stuff. Wow. And they say that she could actually win this race? No, she can't. She can't get by the American people. No, right? Please. You never know. You never know. All right. She can get away with saying car seat, baby blanket, and the other stuff. Donald Trump goes to the cemetery, and they try to make a federal case out of it. They try to make this a scandal. President Trump visiting on the 3rd anniversary of the attack on those Marines in Afghanistan, and this is somehow the scandal, but this is the world we live in. Yep, this was scandalous. What did they say? Kamala Harris actually came out and called this a stunt. It was just political. All right. One thing, I guess, you know, you're running for president, everything the other guy does is bad, but the Department of the Army, the United States Army said basically the same thing. They put out a statement. They call the whole thing unfortunate that President Trump did it. Unfortunate. How unfortunate? What else did they say? There was an incident. An incident was reported to the police. An incident. What happened in this incident? Well, an ANC employee, ANC, they got abbreviations and acronyms for everything. Arlington National Cemetery employee was abruptly pushed aside. Okay, we got people being murdered in America. We've got people, and somebody was pushed. Participants were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and DOD policies. Federal laws, Army regulations, and DOD policies. Think about that. To go to the cemetery, you got to follow regulations, laws, and policies. Well, actually, I looked it up, and they do have about 5,000 different policies on going to the graveyard. It's what can you say? It's swamp. This is the swamp. Regulation, rules, bylines, and guide laws, and all this junk. It really is. You could get rid of about 90% of this stuff. Media, of course, are doing, well, they do what they do. Decry Trump and protect Democrats.
Fire and fury over Donald Trump's political stunt at the most sacred ground for military families in America. Should we really be shocked, though?
Trump himself makes when he, gets into fights and has campaign rallies at Arlington Cemetery.
He said people who were buried in Arlington were suckers and losers.
He is a man devoid of even basic decency and honor.
To post a video, a campaign video on TikTok against federal law, but really against basic decency.
Against basic decency. Wow. Look, folks, I did hear somebody say, why would he smile at a graveyard, at a cemetery? You know what? People grieve. You know, when you grieve, you remember and you talk about people, and sometimes you share some laughs, and it's okay. It's okay. When did we become so uptight? Well, we're selectively uptight. It's a game played by the swamp. Oh, by the way, how is the ANC employee coping after this horrendous incident? How are they coping? What's going on with that?
The Army spokesperson says the incident was reported to police at the military base adjacent to Arlington National Cemetery. But the spokesperson also said the cemetery employee in question has decided not to press charges, so the Army now considers this matter closed. Alex.
Brian, thanks very much. A very, very sensitive issue for good reason.
Yes. A typical anchor has to say something after the reporter finishes the report, something profound, but it's usually very silly, like this guy in this situation. Wow. They call the cops on President Trump for going to a cemetery, and an ANC employee was abruptly pushed. How do you actually say that to the cops? What do you tell them? Pushed. Were you hit? Were you punched? Were you jostled? What happened? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. This is the swamp being the swamp, and it's all set up that they're in charge. The permanent government is in charge, even when it comes to a cemetery. Now, this cemetery, as you know, is located, you've probably been there too, Arlington. It's beautiful, but it's right next to the swamp. And the swamp kind of ruins everything. I mentioned those rules. I mean, some of this stuff is crazy. And everything the government does, I mean, to some point, right? Who likes the honeymooners? Anybody remember the episode where Ralph thought he was getting a check to blow on Fred's Landing, right? A refund check from the federal government. Instead, he got a letter to go see the IRS the next morning. And he totally freaked out. And he wanted to know what he did wrong and what were the penalties for anything he did that was wrong. Poor Ralph.
What can they do for me? What can they do to me if I don't put this stuff down on my income tax?
I don't know. Maybe it's in a book here someplace.
Let me see the book. Here it is.
What?
Penalty for failing to report income. All persons are required under this title to pay an estimated tax, or are required by this title or by regulations made under authority thereof to make a return, other than a return required under authority of Section 6015 or Section 6016, keep any records or supply any information, and who willfully fails to pay such estimated tax or make such return, keep such records, or supply such information.
Boy, Ralph, it sounds like you are in trouble.
Trouble? I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I love it. I love it. And it still applies, not only for taxes, but for the Arlington National Cemetery. So those rules, I'm looking them up, and I'm going through it. I'm trying to find out what the penalty is. Coordinating the collection and provision of after-action information following approved ceremony or special event when required by the Undersecretary of Memorial Affairs or the designee. How to address non-VA ceremony or special event sponsors who do not comply with NCA's policies or procedures established in this directive. No, and it goes on like this. It's gobbledygook. The important part, 13 Marines and a sailor killed in action during our withdrawal. You know, when you leave a country at the end of a war, that's supposed to be the easy part. It's not supposed to be the hard part. And they screwed that up. And that's unforgivable. From a governmental standpoint, unforgivable. And God bless these Gold Star families, huh?
Your recent remarks related to Trump's visit to Arlington are filled with nothing but lies and deceit.
Why would you take a day where we celebrated the death of our loved one and use it to disparage not only them, but us?
Vice President Harris, my name is Steve Nakui. I'm the father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui. And your administration killed my son.
It is you who is playing politics and trying to detract from our memories made that day.
Please stop making these types of comments because that support has not been demonstrated. Your words are hollow and empty.
Heinous, vile, and disgusting post put out by Kamala Harris. Shows you how much you know about the 13 families. We invited him to be there. Why did we want Trump there? It wasn't to help his political campaign. We wanted a leader.
They have spoken so powerfully, so boldly. This is huge news, folks. I mean, they've come out almost unanimously on this one. And Kamala Harris is off giggling somewhere, right? She really thinks she can pull this off. Now, what offended them so much? It's her coming out with she's the one who politicized this. She did. Not anyone else, not Donald Trump. She did. And who comes to the defense? In addition to the media, and this is the important and even scary part, the swamp, the permanent government. They're out for themselves, and they know who they want to win and who they want to lose. And so right now, I looked it up. Who's the head of the Army, right? It's not a general. It's actually this person. She's the Secretary of the Army. Her name, I forgot. Wrote it down, though. Let's take a look at her resume. It is, there it is, Christine Wormuth. She has been in federal government for almost 30 years. One federal job to the next, okay? She's the one who had a role in this disgusting and over-the-top statement decrying President Trump's visit to the cemetery. Participants were made aware of federal laws and Army regulations and DOD policies. They can invoke those policies whenever they want. There are so many rules and regulations. It's almost like a cop. Let's say a corrupt cop. There are some of them out there who hates you and wants to pull you over and will find a reason to do it. You follow anybody for a half mile, you can find some reason to pull them over if you really want to.